Awesome. We are live. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm going to go leave a message in Google Classroom. Oops. Let's do that for all classes. Hey y'all, can you put in the chat your name just so I know who's here? And Mr. Roebuck and I can keep track. Hey, Mr. Roebuck, what's going on? Adjust. Hey, Catherine, how are you? We'll give people a couple more minutes. So block 1 and block 3's messages did not post at all. Interesting. Grr. Alright, well, it is posted. What is happening? You all can see the message for today, right? With the UN web quest and all that, or no? Hi, Hidessa, how are you? I'm doing excellent, Catherine. I am chugging along. I get my EdCPA results next Thursday, so 1 week from today at some point. So that's horrifying, but I'm looking forward to being able to stop worrying and start thinking about a job. Have y'all been? Hey, Coral, how are you? Start up in like 1 minute. If you guys want to start typing your questions, that would be awesome. Yes, very scary, Catherine. All right, we might as well start. I'm sure more people will trickle in. You can start asking your questions. I have a couple pulled up for your guys' block 2, so I will read those off once they load. Come on. Did everybody understand, and were you all able to, and did you like, the PowerPoint from yesterday? I know we covered a lot. Next week we'll go more into the Cold War. But this week I just wanted to touch on Eisenhower and Truman and the rest of the 50s. I had a lot of cool stuff planned for us. Had the plague not happened. Um, if so, this is from Catherine. If so many women wanted to work, why was there a push for women to stay at home? So think of it like this. So you are married to your husband, and the no, why are you? Everybody can still hear me, right? It says I'm buffering a lot. Um, Anyways, women are really expected to stay at home because if you need more than one job in the household, that means your husband cannot sustain your family. That means your husband, he's not a good man. He's not a family man. All right. Interesting. Since she passed, my grandpa had to kind of take that over, and he had no idea what he was doing because she had paid the bills for the past 20 plus years. So the women were in charge of the checkbook at home. But again, it's not an encouraging thing for women to work at this time because, again, it means that your family's not doing well enough. You can't survive on just your husband's salary. Okay? Plus, the ideal is to be the stay-at-home wife who can spend all day with your kids. Okay? If you're working, you're not spending all day with your kids. If you're not at home making your house the best that it can be, if you're not gardening, if you're not, cleaning the house and making it spotless for your husband, what kind of a woman are you? You're one of the poor, destitute women who are not the ideal, who are not achieving the American dream. And, there's a lot of feminist writings on this. It's very interesting stuff. Hidessa, when the men came back from war, did all the women leave, or did some stay in the factories? Most women left, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. Most did not stay in the industrial industry. Most would either transfer or go back to being secretaries, nurses, or I'm missing one. Secretaries, nurses, or teachers. Okay, so a lot of women went back to the stereotypical woman's job. Okay, some women obviously didn't want to go. They liked the factory. They liked what they did. They liked the variety. They liked being able to bring home a paycheck. And this isn't like, every single factory looked at each of its employees and said, each woman has to be fired since the end of the war. It was more or less a cultural thing where people kind of were just pushed out, and there was also this societal idea that put pressure on women that was, a real woman, a beautiful woman does not work in a factory. Okay, a dainty woman is a housewife. A dainty woman has children, and a great woman has a husband who brings home the income. Okay? And especially for married women, if you're a husband, if you're the bread maker, you take that role as the husband. And this is these ideas of gender concepts in the 1950s. Whoever brings home the most money is the husband. Whoever makes the most money takes the role of the husband. So it's not necessarily, in this time, a very sex-bound thing. It's more of a expectation kind of thing. In other words, husbands have certain responsibilities. Making the money, protecting the family, doing yard work that a woman wouldn't do, driving the car. Okay, if a woman's bringing home the money, which is one of the biggest things, she's calling the shots. The man feels emasculated. resents his wife until the point where and there's so many stories of this in plays, in musicals, and books, where the husband gets so jealous that the woman is in power or empowered in the household and perhaps the leader of the family, that the man resents her and starts to push her out. Interestingly, this happened with Queen Elizabeth II, the queen who's in charge right now. Her husband Philip thought that he was going to become king, but that's not how it happens. So since she was the monarch, the most powerful person in Europe, he resented her, he cheated on her, he treated her horribly, and he's still alive today, and they're still married. But in the 40s and 50s, they would really butt heads because she had more power, she had more clout, she had more, I guess, responsibility than he did. So she took on that more masculine role of the husband because she was the breadwinner, she was the queen, she made the decisions, she was technically head of the army and military and government. So, Philip would feel emasculated by that and resent her and treat her subsequently terribly. Okay, and I know that's a weird example, but if it happens to the queen, it can happen to anybody. Thank you, Catherine. I'm glad you liked the PowerPoint. I'm glad I helped you. I will post the live link on Google Classroom. Hi, Chris. And Dylan. Where's that? Alright, I will post that now. Dylan, can you go to the stream and check to see if that link works? Sometimes, because that's the link that YouTube gives me, but sometimes students say it doesn't work. So we shall see. What other questions do we got? I'm more interested in answering your questions than answering the people's questions who are not here. I'm tired today. Got another question that said, let me just read it. Why were women told that if your husband is not the main provider, you are not living the American dream? So let's talk about the American dream. The American dream says you are a white, heterosexual family with 2 or 3 kids. The husband is employed and makes enough money for the house. You live in the suburbs. Your wife is a stay-at-home mom who's wearing a dress, cleaning the house, cooking, and doing the laundry all day, and caring for the kids, of course. The ideal is that, okay? Women are in the house, husbands are working, kids are darlings, the house is clean. These are the these are the quintessential core ideas or representations of the American dream. Okay, so when I teach the American dream, I call it the folly of the American dream. How the American dream was only available for a select few. Okay, only white heterosexual middle class people, upper middle class even, who could afford to move to the suburbs. If you're not living that lifestyle, you're not living the American dream. Okay? Sorry, Dylan, I don't know why the link doesn't work. That's the one that they gave me, so I don't know why it never works, but I don't know. So if you're not living the American dream, well, that's the goal. That's what you're trying to go for. That's the main thing that you want to do so that your family can look good. You can be content with your life. Okay? And men weren't necessarily like furious that women were experiencing feminism, and um, they weren't really upset about it, but it depended on the person. So there were men who were feminists, okay? There were men who supported women's rights, um, but a large majority of the men said, hey, these are our gender expectations. The husband of the family brings home the money. The husband of the family, um, is masculine and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't so much that men were furious and reacted to feminism badly. It's just that a lot of people, and a lot of women too, had a lot of difficulty breaking with the ideas that they had established over centuries. Okay, and you're probably saying, well, how is the American dream an idea that extended over centuries with a white picket fence and automobiles and everything? When I say that, I mean more so women's roles and men's roles. The gender roles have been established and in place for centuries. When North Korea was created, how was their leader chosen? So remember I said the Soviets put, I can never remember his name, because I get the father and the grandfather confused. Just make sure I'm right. Yeah, I was right. Okay, Kim Il-sung. He is Kim Jong-un's grandfather. So remember I was saying the Soviets put him in power in the North? He was a man of the people. He was a communist. He was very... thank you, Mr. Roba. Kim Il-sung. He was very much supported by the North Korean people. Okay, and eventually when he would become dictator and kind of push the Russians out, he would take total power and become one of the most... He would make North Korea one of the most totalitarian states in the world. And even today, it's the most totalitarian state in the world. So now it's all... it's past, it's inherited. So when Kim Il-sung died, his son Kim Jong-il took over, and then when he died in 2011, I think it was, Kim Jong-un took over, and it's a hereditary thing. So the son of the family takes over after the subsequent father dies. And that's how it still works today. Remember, North Korea is not that old, although it seems old. So we've only experienced 3 leaders, and we're currently in the midst of our 3rd one right now. And when I say our leaders, I mean leaders that we've experienced and worked with or against in the global political theater. Any other comments or questions you guys have? Anything about the automobile craze, automania, or the move to the suburbs, or Eisenhower? Anything that you guys want to know about? Doesn't even have to be one that you created in your notes. It can be something inspired from what we were talking about. Hi, Jesse. Yeah, Mr. Roebuck, you bring up a good point. Kim Jong-un had a massive surgery a couple days ago, and he's currently in critical condition. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if he dies, because he doesn't have a son yet. And even if he did, his son would be too young. So if he dies, it's going to be interesting. I am interested to see if his sister would take over. He has a sister who I've been kind of following in the news. She's his like second-hand person. Trusts her, so I'm interested to see if she would take over, because she is very powerful. Um, but it would be interesting. I think it would be interesting. Now, of course, I'm not saying I hope he dies, but I'm saying if he does die because of this surgery, it'll be interesting to see how the government reacts. Any other comments, questions, inquiries? Anything you'd like to add? Anything at all? Open to any questions? Oh, there was a question about planned obsolescence. Um, so we remember planned obsolescence meaning things were created with the intent that they would break or fall apart after a couple of years so that another product could be purchased. So, for instance, if you bought a toaster, the springs inside might have been, very low quality. So after 2 years, the springs were designed to break. So you can't really fix a toaster when its springs break. So most people went out and bought another one. So planned obsolescence meaning it'll work for a short amount of time, but it's designed to break. Okay, and of course they're not saying that on, advertisements like this toaster is going to break in 2 years. But it's more of a historical thing that companies did, and it was pretty horrible because they're just gouging people for money, and selling them false products. Okay, because you're advertising something that lasts a long time and then breaks after 2 years because it was designed to do that. So planned obsolescence is a very interesting aspect of consumerism in the 1950s. We're about hitting our time. Are there any other final questions, comments, concerns? Any questions about the test next week? Anything at all? I'll give you guys like 1 more minute to ask a question. Hi, Juliana. Do you have a question, Juliana, or anything you'd like to share? Remember, guys, if you need any help with anything at all, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to contact Mr. Roebuck or myself. We're officially in marking period 4, so make sure you finish strong. Make sure you keep up with your work. Make sure that you are, hey Mia, make sure that you are checking all the time. Dylan, what is the test going to be on? It's going to be on Google Forms. Check the stream because I said what topic specifically will be on there. Nothing outside of your notes. Maybe 1 or 2 questions from the textbook, but everything that we covered in the notes will be on the test, probably, most likely. Think of the big ideas, okay? Plus, most of this stuff is pretty straightforward. It's not as complex as World War II was, or World War I, or the Alliance system, or anything like that. Progressivism. This stuff's pretty straightforward, and you guys have a better grasp on this kind of stuff because you've been exposed to it more. So I'm hoping that you guys will do well on it. Yeah. Alrighty, I hope everybody has a great day. Stay safe, wash your hands. Be well, and if you need anything, let us know. All right, have a great day. See you next time.